Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today is another episode of reviewing NHL teams so far, as today we got the Montreal Canadiens. As before we get into the episode, I'd like to just say, if you are new to the channel, make sure to slap that subscribe button and hit that like button as well. That'll be very much appreciated. And if you could go take a look at my Twitch channel as well, I've been doing a lot of live streams, playing NHL, watching hockey videos, and getting ready for the new hockey season that should be coming here January 13th. We get 56 games, which was officially announced not that long ago. I'm really excited about it. As you guys can see, we're going to start pumping through these off-season reviews, getting all the teams done. We're going to be having special guest after special guest. I'm really excited, as today we're going to be talking about the Montreal Canadiens. And you know what? I'm really excited about the future of this team. First of all, you look at the picks for 2021, it's just absolute nuts. First, you got 2 seconds, you got thirds, you got fourths, you got fifths. Now, you'd probably be thinking this is like a rebuilding team. You're probably thinking like, oh yeah, they look like they're rebuilding. No, that's totally not the case with the Montreal Canadiens. They are pushing deep for a playoff run. They are looking for a very good playoff run, and as you guys can see, this team is very deep. And I am really excited about the Montreal Canadiens. And let's start reviewing what Marc Bergevin did and why this team has taken so many perfect steps to now become a really good playoff team now, hopefully, which is the case. So we're start off with the draft, getting Kaiden Guhle, Luke Tuch, and Jan Mysak. I think, honestly, Marc Bergevin had a very strong draft. It definitely wasn't the strongest draft in the world. He could have got way better people around the 16th overall selection, but he was looking for some defensemen. And you get a pretty big guy in Kaiden Guhle, 6'2", 186 pounds. He's only going to get bigger. He's playing for the Prince Albert Raiders. He's been doing really good down there for the Raiders, and I think this is going to be a very solid defenseman for the future of the Marc Bergevin. You also get a nice check in Jan Mysak, who has been ripping it up. Not ripping it up, but he's been ripping it up when he plays in the World Juniors and stuff like that. But I think this guy, he's an offensive force, and that brings in some more depth for the Montreal Canadiens, and it's another check. I mean, they know the checks, the mechanics, they got tons of those guys, and the future of this team offensively is stud, right? You got Cole Caulfield, you got a lot of future offensive guys, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, who's coming up through the roster, you got Suzuki. Now you just need to build up that defense core with adding Romanov to the team as your future guy, Luke Tuch, Kaiden Guhle. You had another couple big bodies added to the team, which I think will make this team a force to be reckoned with their future, and something to be really excited about. Trades, they did a couple trades. They picked up Jake Allen from the St. Louis Blues. It was sort of a cap dump, and it was a little bit of a weird one at first. I was like, Jake Allen going to Montreal, why do they need Jake Allen? Like, what's going to be so big about Jake Allen going to the Montreal Canadiens? And I think this is going to be a good move. I mean, a lot of teams are going with tandems nowadays, and Carey Price hasn't really had a backup in a long time. Now you get a guy in Jake Allen who he's inconsistent at some moments of time, but then he's really good at other times. And I think Jake Allen will be a really big piece for the St. Louis Blues. He had a .215 last year, a .927, especially in the playoffs facing off against the Vancouver Canucks. I think Jake Allen did very well in the play-ins and in the playoffs. I think Jake Allen did very well, and I think he's going to be a good piece for the Montreal Canadiens, especially with that contract extension for like $2.85 million, I think it was. Very cheap deal. They also picked up Joel Edmondson, and then they signed him to a $3.5 million deal for the next 4 years with a no-trade clause. This was a little bit of a head-scratcher, to be completely honest with you. Joel Edmondson's analytics don't look as nice. He's a top 6 D-man. He's a defensive defenseman. He's your stereotype defensive defenseman, but definitely not worth $3.5 million like he thinks he's worth. And, I mean, it is what it is. Montreal thinks that building up their defense core, making it deeper, adding Ben Straw. And I mean, you look at this defense core. You want to go up against this defense core? Probably not. 6'3", 6'4", 6'4", 6'3". They got some really big defensemen that are going to be pretty goddamn scary to go up against. And if you get Alexander Romanov to get into the lineup and him be an offensive piece for your team, this is going to be a pretty scary Montreal Canadiens team. And I mean, you didn't get Joel Edmondson for very much, a 5th-round pick, which is not too much for the Montreal Canadiens. So really good deal for the Montreal Canadiens. Definitely not the greatest contract extension in the world. Also, this deal right here, Max Domi going over to the Columbus Blue Jackets for Josh Anderson. Picking up Josh Anderson, I mean, he's been injury riddled throughout his entire career, and when he does do good, he puts up a good 30 points. But you gotta have this guy be healthy, and the thing is, can he be? He's gonna be a physical guy. He's gonna be a kind of a guy that the Montreal Canadiens are looking for, and could be a potential good second line guy for the team. And I think the reason why they did this, and I mean, they did the exact same thing with Jonathan Drouin. Then yeah, and I mean that contract didn't work out very well for them. Jonathan Drouin has not been the biggest player for the Montreal Canadiens, especially for point production wise. I mean, where is he? Yeah, Jonathan Drouin, there he is. 15 points. I mean, he's been injured too. I guess that's a big thing as well. But even in the playoffs, I mean, yeah, actually, he kind of resurged himself. Analytically, he didn't look too great. But Jonathan Drouin definitely needs to get himself going. He needs to be that big-time goal scorer that they got him to be. He hasn't been that really. And hopefully, he's able to get to that point where he used to be. And it probably was the fact that he played alongside Nate McKinnon in the Halifax Mooseheads, which probably made him so good when he was playing in juniors, which is the reason why he got drafted so high. Cough, cough, Jack Quinn. Anyways, continuing onwards, Josh Anderson, solid guy. I think he could be a very good piece. It's a risky contract, really risky contract if he does not stay healthy. And from the past players we've seen it from, when they get injuries a lot, they usually continue that. We've seen it with Alex Hemsky. We've seen it with a lot of players throughout this league where they begin having injuries when they're young. They continue it into their older age. And I don't know if that's really going to work out for the Montreal Canadiens. On to their signings now. They did a pretty decent amount this free agency, mostly just re-signing a lot of players. Like they got Jeff Petrie back on the team, 4 years at $6.25 million. I thought this deal was a really good deal. I love Jeff Petrie ever since he got drafted to the Edmonton Oilers. I always thought he was a really good player. It sucked that we traded him because he would have been a very key defenseman for us now. But this is the example that I throw out there for Darnell Nurse, is that we shouldn't be criticizing Darnell Nurse because he did struggle with the Edmonton Oilers and he kept developing, and now Jeff Petrie is a top 2 defenseman. Definitely not top 2 defenseman, but is a top 2 defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens and is a great top 4 defenseman, putting up 40 points. He's an offensive go-getter. He's a solid defensive defenseman for the team. He's a big boy. I love Jeff Petrie. Perfect signing for them. Anderson, like we were already talking about, a couple depth signings. Victor Mete, absolute steal for a year. Coulette as well, a nice deal for another depth defenseman. Tyler Toffoli is where they really took the cake. I was like, wow, they got Tyler Toffoli on their team. This is another guy that looks great analytically and produces great amounts of offense, especially when he jumped on the Vancouver Canucks. He was like the hottest name, especially in free agency. He got the perfect right of money. He wasn't asking for too much, $4.25 million. It's a perfect contract for Tyler Toffoli. It's not an overpayment. It's not anything too bad. The Jake Gallen deal, another great deal there. And then the Brennan Gallagher was just a fantastic deal, $6.5 million for their future, right? Gallagher is the face of the Montreal Canadiens, and this is the team that they're going into, and I am extremely excited. If they have Drouin produce and they have Anderson producing, you have Tyler Toffoli probably playing on the third line. That's great. You have great depth going into the next season for the Montreal Canadiens, and this is seriously looking like a really exciting team, especially heading into this really competitive Canadian division where they could potentially take first, second, even third. Who knows where they're going to be ending up as. This team has loads of potential. I'm really excited to see this team. I'm going to give this team an A. There's only a couple problems. The Josh Anderson deal was a little bit of a sketchy one. Same with the Joel Edmondson one. But I love the Jake Allen deal. The Joel Edmondson, you pick up a really solid defensive defenseman for the team. Tyler Toffoli, you bring in another goal scorer. Josh Anderson, you bring in another goal scorer. You only bring in more offense for this team, which they need. They need more offense. They need better defense, and I think they fixed those issues. And especially with how well Nick Suzuki played last year, this team's future for the Montreal Canadiens is is just on the up climb right now. Be excited, Montreal Canadiens fans, and just be excited, as every hockey fan should be, about this young, exciting Canadiens team. But I'm going to end the video here. Tell me, guys, what you guys think about the Canadiens offseason. And, yeah, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios, amigos.